Hello, warriors. Diane Kaiser here. I'm the creator of Chi, Hormone Warrior Transformation, which stands for Cleanse Your Body, Heal Your Hormones, and Ignite Your Life. I am also the creator of the Warrior Cleanse, which is a mini transformational system to help you cleanse your body and understand the self-love key that helps you unlock your own innate intelligence to self-heal by learning to listen to your intuition and improve your immune system as well as your confidence in yourself. So one would say I am a courage coach. I am also a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and I'm also a holistic health coach, former pro soccer player, and a whole bunch of other really cool things. Basically, what I'm stating to you right now is these are the things that qualify me to talk about the topic that we are going to go into today. And what I say to all of you out there is if you're going to listen to anybody, if you're going to take advice from anybody, and if you're going to create actionable steps from leaders that you follow, make sure that they have three things. They have education, they have experience, and they have empathy. So today, that's what's lacking in a lot of practitioners or leaders or self-proclaimed gurus or coaches out there, is that they say that they have education and maybe they have experience, but the hard part is how do you lead somebody when they haven't been through the same thing that you have? So what I want to share with you today is something that has really been one of the myths that I've been busting a lot. And I want you to understand because I want you to feel inspired and empowered, and as a result, to be transformed. We're going to talk about, sure, the immune system, because it is a hot topic and I totally get it. There's so many of you that are out there that are just freaked out, flipping out, and frantic. And I want to help ease some of that for you by giving you some of the information and the inspiration that you can turn into transformation with regard to something that very few people are talking about. It's not the popular topic to talk about the things that block your immune system. What is popular to talk about is what pill do I take to build my immune system, to give me an artificial sense of protection. And, hey, placebo does work. It's said to be 60% of how we actually act and how our body reacts to a thought. So let me just stop for a moment and state that again. 60% of things that I found in research with people who have taken pills, let's say drugs or whatever they're studying and researching, they found that 60% of the results that people would have were based on placebo. So what does that say? Is that you actually have so much power, it's called your biology of your belief, to influence your entire body through your biography. In other words, your story, the thoughts that you think, the trauma that you haven't resolved, the stories that you carry within your mind. So we are at an extremely pivotal time in history. Maybe we've never experienced this before. Maybe we haven't been there, but certainly in our lifetime, this is new to many of us. And so I really want to dive into the immune system and what blocks it, what hijacks it, what cripples it. And it's something that I want you to see behind the scenes from a client of ours that came to me, and she was really looking for help. She was coming out of a relationship and she felt stuck and she was sick and she was suffering and she was symptomatic. And we helped her find her sovereignty. So the concept today, the theme of today is to bust a myth. And it's the theme of this month for April 2020 is when I'm doing this video. And what I'm seeing is that many people think that they can get take some vitamin C, take some vitamin D, maybe some melatonin. They can take some elderberry, take some zinc, pop some pills, and essentially you buy or swallow your immune system. What I want to impart on you with this video is that your immunity is not just the pills that you take. And I would surmise that actually it's more about the thoughts that you think, the stories that you carry around, and the beliefs that you believe about illness or wellness or the world or your body or genetics or this virus or whatever the case may be. Your biography greatly impacts your biology. And that is to say, what's going on up here in your brain affects your symptoms. And yes, you are that powerful. So as above, so below. And that is to say, what's going on in here will dictate what's happening down here, physiologically, biologically. And so I'm going to go through 3 things today, because there's this concept that I just created called OPP, other people's panic. And that's to say that everybody else is panicking. And so it's trendy to panic, and therefore I should panic too. What I'm seeing is that so many of you out there are like me, you're empaths. And that's mainly who I work with, is women who are empathetic. That's the 3rd E in that formula, right? Experience, education, and empathy. We can have too much empathy to a fault, to the destruction of our own body and our own energy and our own beauty and our own immunity. So we think that it's our job to save everybody else, or to feel sad, or there's an equation, there's this formula. That this happens, and then therefore I should feel this. And if I don't feel this, then I'm not like everybody else. And right now, a lot of us are struggling with, me included, it's trying to be scary, and we got to take this seriously. We got to be afraid. And by showing my fear, I'm taking this seriously. And that only hurts yourself. People are afraid to post positive pictures of them doing things, enjoying their life, living in joy. Other people are shaming them, like, how dare you? You should be panicking like the rest of us. And that draws us back into trauma wounds from childhood or adulthood that we have not yet resolved. So what we have not all the way healed will show through and shine through now in the way that we are feeling through this entire journey. So the thing that I am celebrating the most with coronavirus, even though there's a lot of confusion and fear and chaos, I want to celebrate the fact that so much of our shit is showing up. The things that are subconscious within us that are unhealed in our organs, I call them trapped traumas and hidden hurts, they're showing up right now. They're showing up in PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. They're showing up in OPP, other people's projections, other people's panic, other people pleasing. They're showing up in symptoms and lots of different things that people are not really sure of. And people are seeing symptoms and they're thinking, oh my God, is this the virus? And so I don't want you to be OPP other people's paranoia either. So this is a behind the scenes case study, which we are going to be releasing on the Cleanse Heal Ignite podcast today. And you can listen to the rest of it and listen to her whole journey of this woman who came to us. And I want you to find yourself in her, because we are all one and we all suffer the same types of things. And for the most part, we're all of us, every human, carries around unprocessed traumas that are still affecting us. It's coming from wounds from at some point in our life that we stuffed down because we didn't know how to work through it, but now are resurfacing. And with this video, I want to invite you into a new way of thinking about trauma, a new way of viewing your physical symptoms as a manifestation of a physiological response that begins up here in the mind. What are you saying, Diane? Are you saying that I've created all of my symptoms? Possibly. And in some respects, yes, because we are going to talk about 2 things. The 2 things that radically destruct your body and that deplete your immune system are toxins and trauma. And what that looks like and how those come about are things that are physical, they're emotional, and they're chemical. So you could have different things that are stressing you out from the way that you sit. You know, many of us are computers like this, and we have this tension and stress up in our neck. We're carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. And a lot of that restricts the spine from being able to create blood flow and travel nutrients and communication from the gut to the brain. There's this connection from the gut to the brain called the vagus nerve. So when we are kinked, it's like a kinked hose, like the water can't flow through the hose. And when we're sitting like this and we're stressed out like this, that's the physical stress. Things can't flow through us. And we're stressed and we're covering our heart because we don't want to get hurt. So many of us are doing this too. Do you guys resonate with that? I used to do the same thing, and I removed my breast implants also has helped me sit up straighter. So that's just one example of physical stress, emotional stress, and then there's also chemical stress, which is toxicity. Today, we're going to take a little tour with Dr. Patricia Reber, and she was an osteopathic physician that came to me, and she was like, I know I need cleansing. And she went through our program, and she, just our mini program, and she realized that there was more, that she had more to deal with. And you guys know, it's kind of like an incomplete poop. You're like, not everything just came out. I know there's more to come out. Like, why is everything coming out? It's like, you know that there's something deeper. beyond just eating healthier or beyond just working out. There's far more to it than even cleansing. Your immune system is predicated, the health of your immune system is predicated on the thoughts that you think, the foods and drinks that you drink, and the things that you apply to your body, as well as the environment and the outside world. However, so many of us are getting angry at what's happening out there, and that's all an illusion. The only thing we can control is what's happening inside of here. This is a control tower for everything below it. So this is really important for you to understand, because Dr. Patricia's immune system was shot because of the trauma that she had not resolved, was making her fat, fatigued, and frustrated. And she was not sure what else to do, because she is this powerful doctor. She should be doing all these things, and she should know all these things. And so this is also the message I wanted to impart upon you guys, is just because somebody is a doctor, or just because somebody is a politician, or just because somebody is a self-proclaimed leader, does not mean that they have their ish together. The number one suicide position today in terms of occupation is doctors, because they have been taught that they should know everything. And we as a culture have pedestalized them. And we point our finger at them being the ones that can save us. But really, here's the secret. You're the only one that can save you. And I'm talking about chronic disease. Acute care is completely different. But chronic care, the onus is on us to build our immune system. Sure, there are medications that can wipe out viruses. But beyond that, you guys, we got the point. I hope you got the point that right now it is time for all of us to take responsibility for our mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health. Are you with me on that? So this is how we do it. And I want to simplify it, but I also want to show you what it looks like behind the scenes to have an immune system that just is not operating properly, and that it's not just about vitamin C, vitamin D, melatonin, taking medications, and relying on politicians or the government or the CDC or Bill Gates to come up with a vaccine. That is a codependent cultural creation that says you cannot create health on your own to protect yourself. You should rely on us to protect you. And that is extremely disempowering, not to mention all the chemicals and crap that are in the shots they would give us. It's filled with fetal aborted baby tissue. It's filled with aluminum, with mercury, and many other adjuncts that the body does not take well. And for people who are clean, you throw something like that in the body and you could have a response that is more deadly than the virus itself. So I wanted to give you guys an alternative to it. And I don't even know if we're going to be able to opt out in the future. But as of right now, I think it's greatly important that even if we are mandated to take this shot, that at least you have a chance at fighting off whatever is inside of it, because you've boosted your immune system to be so strong that it can identify a virus, it can identify a toxin, it can identify a trauma and clear it. The number one most toxic thing for your body that depletes your immune system is trauma, emotional trauma. The thoughts that you're thinking on a regular basis that keep you stuck, sick, suffering, and symptomatic. And it could also be for some people that you've worked through a lot of your trauma, but you're toxic, because it's hard to say, you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg. So oftentimes when we have trauma, we then, like I said, we start reacting this way physically and we kink the hose. And then if we're not able to cleanse the body, we can't heal the hormones or the gut. And we start to back up like that kinked toes. We start to back up with toxicity. Where does the toxicity go? It has to go to the fat cells. It has to go to the brain. It has to go to the organs. And the body is trying to protect it from going to the brain. So it's doing the very best job it can to putting it into fat cells. And that's why it's so hard to lose weight. So enter Dr. Patricia Reber, and I'm going to just show you guys what this looks like. But first I want to show you what the body looks like inside. Like, what is your body on fear? What does it look like on the inside to be in a fight or flight response? So let me just show you this here. And at first we'll start with a picture. And what this is this is an image of a body in fight or flight. The majority of us right now, 90% of our day, are thinking self-sabotaging and limiting beliefs on repeat. This creates a scenario that we're living physically. That's the biography, right? That's what's happening mentally. Now, physically, the biology responds to the thought, and it creates a stress response to it. 60 to 70% of our day, we are living in fight or flight. And this is the work of Joe Dispenza, who has proven this. And this is also the statistic of Joe Dispenza that says 90% of our day we're living in self-sabotaging and limiting beliefs. We're stuck. We're trapped in our negative thinking, our fear-based thinking. And then we get addicted chemically to these fear-based thoughts, and we see them outside of us, and we feed our ego by saying, see, look, we're right. There are things to fear out there. So everything that we see out there is an experience that you're having in here. So if you're able to calm the fight or flight inside of here, then what's going on outside of you won't affect you, and you will have greater control of your own body and your own mind. And I should say your body through your mind. So no matter what chaos is going around you, you can still find joy and you can still keep your body at peace. But what happens when you don't, the PTSD that most of us are living in now, unknowingly, this is what this looks like. The central nervous system is on overstimulation. So what happens is these are the symptoms of it. Your face starts blushing, your veins dilate for efficient pumping of blood and oxygen. So it's pushing closer to the skin and raising your coloration. And so this is what you start to see with skin issues. People are always like, oh, I have skin issues. I don't know what's going on. I can't heal things. And this is a big part of why. So these are some of the symptoms, but I'm going to get deeper into what it looks like in your organs and what happens with your digestion, your hormones, and why this matters to you, because this is why you feel like crap and why she felt like crap coming to us. You get tense. So the oxygen from your lungs and sugar from cortisol is pumped to the muscles. So you start to get tense. That shoulder, that posturing I was showing you here, you have blood flow that's pushing away from your organs and into your muscles and tissues. So now that suppresses your digestion and that suppresses your immune system because your body is ready to run. When your body is perceiving fight or flight, primally, it's thought, oh my God, there's an animal, there's some kind of predator running toward me and at me and wants to eat me. So I have to run away from it. So your body's not thinking about sex. It's not thinking about digestion. It's not thinking about fighting pathogens inside of you. It's thinking about running the hell away from some kind of predator that wants to eat you, right? And now we have in our mind, what is the predator? The predator is the virus. The predator is this virus that's going to eat me and kill me. And what that does in the mind, that keeps you selfish. That fear is actually what brings you into your own level of narcissism. Now it becomes, what about me? Now it doesn't become, I love my neighbor. It becomes, you're bad, I'm good, I need to save myself, I need to push everybody else away. And for good reasoning, we're conditioned to believe right now that everybody else might have cooties and they could die from this. Do I believe that that's absolutely true? I don't know what to believe anymore is all I'm going to say here. There's a way to be cautionary and smart while also be caring to your body at the same time and not being an asshole to your neighbors, right? And living in fear that everybody's out to kill you. That's what the mainstream media wants you to believe. There's a way to find peace in all of this, and this is what I'm hoping to impart upon you, and how your immune system cannot protect you as long as you're in this state of fear, okay? So then what happens is, and this stuff is, I worked with this woman a year ago. She was having, heat sweats. A lot of women are having, heat sweats in the middle of the night. They're waking up and their sheets are just soaked because they're living in this fight or flight, which could also be toxicity as well. So we'll get into that. But your body starts sweating and because it's perspiring, it's trying to release and dump all of these things. It's also trying to regulate its own body temperature. And oftentimes what happens is our extremities, our fingers, our toes, they get cold. Your nose, your ears, extremities get cold because your body's pumping blood flow to your tissues, your muscles, your big, strong muscles try to get you the heck away from this thing trying to kill you and eat you. At least that's what says the mind, right? The mind doesn't know any different if it's a predator or if it's a virus or if it's a nasty ass boss or a jerk boyfriend or a nagging child or whatever it is, right? The brain just goes, adrenaline, cortisol, run. And cortisol naturally is supposed to fight fires in the body, turn down inflammation, calm things down, help you lose weight, reduce body pain, energy drain. But as long as you have this story in your mind that says everything is dangerous, that cortisol can't be used to calm down things in the gut, like gut bugs, pathogens, toxins, chemicals, undigested food particles, food sensitivities. It can't calm that down because it's got one job, and that's to keep you alive. So it's going to put everything else in the back burner, and you're not going to want to have sex, and your body's not going to want to make babies, and you're going to have a hard time sleeping because you're stuck in this fixated state in your central nervous system. So what happens is that your central nervous system has two different options in a teeter-totter state. It could either be in fight or flight, which is over here, and it's tapping hard in the fight or flight, or it could be over here, and it could be chilling you out. So it needs a job of having one or the other, but it's your body's job to regulate that by being over here or over here. Majority of us are over here, and we have a hard time self-regulating to calm down. This is the main problem we have today. Many of us are stuck in PTSD. Many of us are stuck in trauma. Many of us are stuck in fight or flight. We don't know how to get out. So I want to provide you with solutions to it, and that's where we're going to go next. Because you could do all the yoga in the world. You could do all the essential oils in the world. You can exercise. You can, eat grounding foods. You can have sex. You can, take sleeping pills. That's what a lot of people are having to resort to now. But many people even fear meditation because they have to sit meditation. One of the clients I'm working with right now says this: Diane, I can't meditate because when I sit down to meditate, I can hear my inner 8-year-old girl being molested. What that meant is when I went to sleep, when I went to go lay down to go to sleep, I had people come into my room and molest me. So it meant I wasn't safe when I tried to sleep, when I tried to rest. These are the stories that so many of us are carrying, but have also buried down. And if we can start to invite them up for healing and forgiving and accepting the things that have happened to us in the past and not giving them power, we can finally get our power back. We can get our healing and vitality back. We can get our immunity back, and we can find our peace and our joy no matter what's happening around us, because we've finally resolved the stories up here and the beliefs and the thoughts that I'm not safe, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not enough, or I have bad genes, or whatever the case is, right? Whatever the story is, we really have to question the stories so we can get past our illnesses. Also, what starts to happen is we're overstimulated. Our brain starts racing. We have adrenaline. This is where the brain fog really begins. You start to feel unfocused, or we're dizzy, we're spacey. We might even have hyponatremia, which means that when you stand up, you actually have blood rush into your brain issues. So you can't stand up properly. You start to get dizzy. So a lot of times people have that. There's tests for that too. That's what otherwise people would call adrenal fatigue, but there's no such thing. It just means that you can't get enough hormone output to the body because it's been fighting for so long. It's been like the adrenal switch has been on the whole time. And initially you have energy when you have this sort of initial stress, acute stressor happen, but then over time it's harder and harder to keep your energy level high. And what happens then is that you move over to the coffee, you move over to the stimulants, you need more of it, and then you need wine to calm down, or maybe you smoke a blunt to wind down. These are all signs that your body is in a state of permanent fight or flight and PTSD. And there's a way to heal all that. And you don't have to take a ton of supplements or continue to spend a ton of money on weed or alcohol or caffeine, all of which actually disrupt your lungs, which is something right now that everybody wants focus on helping to heal and to clear. So this is really important to understand how we do this to ourselves, right? Heart racing, adrenaline starts to step up, and your adrenals release adrenaline, release cortisol. When your adrenals release stress hormones, there is no space for sleep and sex hormones. It takes the back seat to the front seat, which is the key driver, which is stress hormones. Stress hormones, we got to run away from this threat. And people wonder why they have no sex drive, or they have periods that are failing, or they have fibroid issues, or they have endometriosis, or their hair is falling out, or they have thyroid problems. They're exhausted. They are gaining weight. They can't lose weight. They have, muscle pains. They have body pains. They have muscle dystrophy, or atrophy, not dystrophy, that their muscles are decreasing, and then their fat cells are expanding. They're like, what is going on here? This is such a big part of it. So we can't just eat healthy and exercise this stuff away. We can't run away. That's why I think so many people are exercising so much right now. We're literally running in place on a treadmill, trying to run away from a trauma that we've never resolved. And it's actually causing more harm to our hormones and hence our immune system. So when there's stress on top of already existing stress, you're going to deplete yourself further. That's why it's so important to work with what's going on up in here and really getting complete with the traumas and the emotionals and the mentals that you're believing, the thoughts that you're carrying around your body that keep you in PTSD, even when there's no threat around. So then the last thing I wanted to say is that breathing, when we are in fight or flight, this is where I'm seeing women easily switch into migraines, easily switch into headaches, easily switch into panic attacks, easily switching into insomnia, because they can't spread oxygen throughout their body because they're not breathing properly. Then when they sit down to meditate, they're like, I can't, I'm in a panic state, because the thought is causing her to panic, or the thoughts or the beliefs or whatever that is. And so that depletes the blood from your brain, and you start to get lightheaded and then henceforth brain fogged. The stomach, when we are in fight or flight or PTSD or believing a thought or in fear of what's happening, your cortisol shuts down your adrenals that are on top of your kidneys back here on either sides of your mid-back. Your adrenals release sex, stress, and sleep hormones. So important. Every symptom is a hormonal symptom all the time, no matter what. So your stomach will release, or your adrenals release cortisol, and that cortisol will shut down the digestive system and says, we don't have time for you. We're running from this threat. It shuts down the digestive tract. And then you start to go, well, I have digestion problems. I can't digest my food. It feels like things are backing up. I feel bloated. I feel constipated, or maybe you have diarrhea. So that's going on. And then it also depletes energy to the immune system. It's supposed to be temporary, you guys. It's supposed to be like a 2-minute thing or a 10-minute thing. It's not supposed to be a 70% of our day, of our life thing. Our bodies have not been designed to handle this much stress and fight or flight, okay? So this is what's happening. When we are in a space of fight or flight, we are absolutely depleting our hormones, or taxing our hormones, over exhausting our hormonal system, which is our thyroid, our adrenals, our ovaries. And then what we're doing, if you're a woman, because I work mainly with women, is then we're depleting our digestive tract, and we're diverting tension away from the immune system. And this is what it opens you up for not an external attack, because the body is now running away from the threat, but an internal attack. Because if your mind thinks there's something outside, oh my God, something is trying to kill me, which is the mainstream media, there's no space inside to defend yourself from the actual real threat, which is now the pathogen inside of your body. So what do we do about all of this, and how did this show up with Dr. Patricia when she came to us? And let me just show this to you right now, because she came to us and she had a lot of issues going on. So I'm gonna share here. This is one of the first tests that I wanted to show you, which is her hormone test. This is beyond blood. We don't do blood testing anymore just for hormones. We compare those two to see how the body is actually producing hormones, which is in the blood, but it doesn't give us any kind of a big picture window as to what the body's doing, utilizing the hormones. Is the body metabolizing the hormones? Are things going in reverse? How quickly is your body metabolizing these hormones? How quickly is your body clearing them? Or is it going back up and causing more problems? So it's not just about the hormones you produce, it's about the hormones that you use and that you metabolize and that you clear, and how quickly they're doing that. So she's in menopause, obviously. But what was going on with her is she had a little bit of estrogen dominance, which it means that she's got exposure to things that look like xenoestrogens. That's beside the point of this conversation, and that's for another video. But these kinds of toxins do deplete the immune system, because the body will actually have to work harder to clear toxins instead of have energy to fight off any kind of pathogenic invader. And by the way, digestion is responsible for about 70% of your caloric output every single day. That's how much energy that you expend on digestion. So this is why intermittent fasting and keeping foods that are really easy to digest, taking enzymes, drinking apple cider vinegar, those things are really important to stimulate your digestion. But as long as you have stress in the body with cortisol high, it turns down your stomach acid, so you can't break down food. This is why it's really important when I teach in the Warrior Cleanse, as well as the clients that I work with one-on-one, to look to see how your digestion is functioning, because if it's not functioning well, then your immune system is not either, because 80% of your immune system lives in the gut. 80%. So if you have a digestive issue symptom, then you have a immune system issue, which all starts in the mind. Okay. The thing I want to call your attention to with hers is that Patricia was just out of an 8-year relationship. And I'll just actually show this to you right here. She came to me and this is what she said. I ended an 8-year relationship in the beginning of March. I felt exhausted. I wasn't sleeping well, waking in the early morning hours with night sweats and digestive upset. I was told, does that sound familiar? I just described to you guys what it looks like to live in fight or flight and PTSD. I was told about the Warrior Cleanse by my naturopathic doctor friend. I was so miserable. I thought I needed cleanse. I was all in. This began my journey. The cleanse helped me to start to detox and reset my system, though it was not complete and I wanted more work. I was curious on the How Chi program worked and I signed up. So she's been doing a lot of things, and this may sound familiar to you. I've been eating organically, working on my emotions, using supplements, and occasionally cleansing for many years. Everything seemed to help me get somewhat better, but it was not complete. And for her, she realized that it was the trauma. So she wrote, the only fear was, let me just actually scroll this down here. I discovered that my own fear, trauma, and energetic blocks were holding my health hostage. It was by releasing and healing the trauma, removing the energetic blocks that my health finally turned a corner. Of course, working on the physical cleansing is a given. Everything works together. You cannot heal emotionally with his healing physically and vice versa. So now what she's able to do with this clarity on the trauma that she has experienced with this breakup and helping her get through it, because she had a lot of stories about what that breakup meant to her. It meant to her that she was a failure, that she wasn't lovable, that she wasn't heard. And she was in a toxic relationship and was not happy in that relationship. She was allowing herself to be used and abused for a very long time. And she was in it for a long time knowing that it wasn't the healthiest relationship for her. And so how many of you are out there, you're in an unhealthy relationship, whether that be a job that you're not resonating with, maybe a narcissistic boss, or you're in a relationship where you're allowing them to put you down and you're playing small so that you can stay in a connective relationship because you're afraid of being alone, because you're afraid that you can't do it on your own, because you're too stupid, or whatever the thought is from maybe the age you were 8. Maybe you thought, okay, I'm on my own with this and I need to figure it out on my own. But if you can't, then you end up becoming codependent on relationships because you haven't figured it out. There's nothing to figure out. There's only stuff to feel into. And what I mean by feeling into is Patricia knew this. She said that when she first came to us, she was living only at 30 to 40% of her full potential. And imagine, this is a doctor who's working with patients, an osteopathic doctor. So you guys be gentle on your doctors. They're human too. They have a lot of trauma. And our culture has absolutely shoved trauma aside and said, shut the hell up, take an antidepressant, and stop feeling. You should only feel positive. This is the absolute prison that's keeping so many of us hostage to the hurt that we have never processed. And this is the saddest thing, but it's also the silver lining of it is it's a freeing thing, because when we have clients that go through this journey with us, like Patricia, 95% of these clients have an amazing transformation. Because what if the transformation is really just the connection that you make to how your mind governs your body? And then also, of course, clearing out the toxins. But you can't clear toxins when you still have trauma in your body, because these things hold onto your organs. Like she said, I was traumatized. I was so traumatized. She had PTSD from the toxic relationship, lack of sleep, digestive upset, etc. And she says, now I feel live. I feel that there's still some work to do regarding my health. There always is, because it typically takes 1 to 2 years. Once you really start to see this inside of yourself, I teach you how to self-heal so that you can turn this boat on your own, and you never need to, I wouldn't say never, but you will less need to be codependent on doctors or healers or practitioners or coaches or whatever to help you, because you learn how to help yourself. Because you learn how to listen to yourself and self-parent yourself in a compassionate way that no one else can do for you, because no one else can be with you 24/7. And this is what creates the codependence and poor boundaries. Anyway, now she's feeling alive. There's still some work to do regarding her health, and I'll show you exactly what that work is. So like I mentioned, she had really high levels of cortisol. She was producing a lot. Metabolized cortisol means that she's producing a ton of cortisol. So her body is still receiving cortisol. Oh my God, a lot of stress, because in her mind, she's thinking there's danger, there's stress, there's PTSD, there's trauma, there's hurt, there's something, and it lives inside of her. Even though she's out of that relationship still lives inside of her. The trauma still lives inside of her. That's why we can't just leave a town we live in, and we can't just break up with our significant other, because wherever you go, there you are. And if you haven't resolved that trauma, you're going to keep attracting that same kind of pattern into your life until you can finally realize that it's that hidden hurt that has not yet been healed, that is begging to be sat with and loved and healed and freed, that you will stop attracting the same patterns into your life, and you will start trusting yourself, because you will learn to now listen and listen to your intuition. And you won't keep leading yourself down a path of that trauma bond, that trauma wound from the inner child that still has yet to be healed, right? So that's the secret right there. So she's creating a ton of cortisol. Oh my God, fight or flight, 60 to 70% of her day. That's a lot. She should be at like 12 o'clock there, not at, 3 o'clock. 5204 is a lot. Now you could see 87 is her free cortisol. So it's the amount that's running around her body. It's really low. We'd like to see both of those at 12 o'clock. In the cortisol production, I'm making this much, and here's how much is running around the body. We'd like to see them both at 12 o'clock. But she is making a lot, and she's got little amount running in her body, which means she's making a lot and using a ton. She's making a lot and using a ton. That should illustrate that this woman was in a severe state of PTSD. Question for you. Imagine many of us at this point, what do you think that we look like right now? In the state of fear and crisis and panic. Do you think that many of us, our hormones look like this on the inside? I would surmise so. We are in panic, in a state of fight or flight, producing 5204, making a lot of cortisol, making a lot of stress hormone, running from the virus, running from the fear, running from the people who have the virus or might have the virus. Oh my God. But yet, oh my God, we're using so much of it. This is going to tank us faster than the virus will. This fear, because of what's happening inside up here. Your body can only sustain this for so long, and your body can only drink so much coffee. And by the way, coffee is extremely acidic. Most of it's filled with pesticide. It's the most heaviest pesticide sprayed crop in the world. Pesticides are estrogenic, which she also had higher levels of estrogen. She was estrogen dominance. And it's also when it's acidic to your body, it robs calcium from your bones, causing things like osteoporosis. And it also robs your body of magnesium, which is the stress mineral that you need so that you can chill, so that you find this fight or flight over here. Magnesium helps you to chill out. So that's why I think everybody needs 400 to 800 milligrams of magnesium every day, and to lay off the caffeine and to address the root causes of stress, which are the typical things that we're believing emotionally, mentally, spiritually. The spiritual betrayal is not following your life's purpose and working for other people in a narcissistic boss or a corporation or a job that you hate, or, their mission is toxic and you're not in the right place. That's a spiritual betrayal. A mental betrayal is when you have thoughts that no longer resonate with you are now, and you're still being alleged to a parent who said that, you have to work hard throughout the day. In order to rest, you need to work hard first. That's a mental betrayal. An emotional betrayal is knowing that you're in a toxic relationship and you stay. Many forms of betrayal, and your body will always respond to your biography. Your biology is what you're seeing right here in this lab test. This is how Dr. Patricia's biography is revealing itself biologically. And by the way, these are not tests that your doctor will run for you. If you go to your insurance run, standard P, doctors, they're not going to run these because they have no idea and they have no clue, and they have no value in these things because there's no drug behind them, because I'm helping you heal. I want to help you heal so that you don't need anything. You don't need a pill anymore. So she is in overdrive, in stress, and as a result, she's not making a lot of sex hormones either. And I'll just bring you down here so that you can actually see the bottom line of this. She's got low levels of melatonin. That's her sleep hormone. Melatonin, especially with this virus, is scientifically been researched, I should say, to really help to slow down the growth of this virus. So cortisol is your daytime firefighter. It puts fires out during the day. It helps to calm you during the day. Melatonin is your firefighter at night. So it calms things down when you're sleeping. If you have low melatonin, you're going to be waking up throughout the night. You're going to have insomnia. Worry is going to drop your melatonin. Fear will drop your melatonin. Looking at screens like your computer, your phone, and everything will drop your melatonin at nighttime. You should, at least stop looking at computer screens around 7 o'clock when the sun goes down, or if you must look at them after, wear blue blockers like this. You can see the blue reflection off of this, and it helps for your pineal gland to produce melatonin. I know Patricia was looking at screens late at night. She had low melatonin. She was also living in the state of fight or flight. So this is really important to see, is that she was living in a fight or flight pattern. So you could see low melatonin, low sex hormones, and she was having a really hard time clearing her harmful estrogens, because if you can't metabolize them properly, they go into a harmful DNA pathway mutation and they start causing problems like cancers and fibroids and cysts and tumors and growths of things like fat cells. Okay, so that's enough for the hormones. There's a lot more to it than that. Actually, I wanted to show you this down here too. We also talk about things like serotonin. Serotonin is our happy neurotransmitter. It also keeps us chill and calm. And actually, we've also got other things that we're looking at here as well. But we look at these metabolites to see how the body's even doing at metabolizing some of these neurotransmitters and organic acids. So in her case, she had dopamine. She had norepinephrine was a high end of range. So norepinephrine is like fight or flight. She was making a lot of them. And so this is another part of the whole big picture of why she had a lot of stress in her life. This is what I wanted to show you on how the gut impacts the brain and the hormones. So inside of her stool test, what she had is she had parasites. She also had high levels of candida. She also had high levels of strep, which is a type of bacteria that can cause a lot of oxygenation issues. And then she had Prevotella, which is an autoimmune trigger for things like rheumatoid arthritis. So a lot of you out there who are like, oh, I have an autoimmune disease or whatever. This is really important to look into some of these bugs that actually can predispose you for these autoimmune diagnoses. Did you know it takes 10 years to actually be properly diagnosed for an autoimmune condition with your doctor? Because they don't have these tools. They can only see it when it happens rather than looking at a lab like this to see, is it on its way to happening or is it already kind of stirring itself up? And so this is a big threat and a big problem right now because they're saying that, okay, let me stop sharing so I'll just keep talking. They're saying that, you know, this virus is only really impacting people who are immunocompromised. Here's my beef with all of this. At this point, we are all immunocompromised. Why is that? You're now seeing it, right? The more fear that you're living in, the more immunocompromised that you are. The more toxicity that you carry, the more immunocompromised that you are. But to everything else, Patricia's labs looked fine. They didn't show, you know, her immune system, white blood cells were just fine. There was no threat, you know, that she looked like her immune system was failing because we're looking at the wrong things. We're looking at, you can't tell the depth of someone's health by looking at the surface of an ocean. You've got to go deep and go scuba diving to see what's really happening underneath. And that's what we're doing here is we're diving deep underneath the surface. So I'm going to start wrapping this up. I intended this to be shorter, but there's so much to talk about here so you guys can see. Okay, let me share my screen one more time and I'm going to start clearing this here. Let me hit share. Okay, so these things that you're seeing in here is if your gut has a lot of things to do by fighting bugs off, it will distract you from being able to fight off the big threat, like a big immunocompromising pathogen, like a virus, right? And other things can agitate that too, like high levels of EMF and EMR radiation frequencies can actually aggravate the cell as well. So this is a whole big, looking at the whole big picture. So she had an overgrowth of bacteria, not good bacteria. She had an overgrowth of these bacteria that are autoimmune triggers. If you have rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, MS, lupus, a lot of these things predispose you to many of these issues. And I see this a lot with women with breast implants too. Also this one, she had a lot of fungus yeast. When this shows up on this lab test, this stool test, it means she's got a lot of it. Guess what pathogen is related to the emotion of fear? Fungus. Candida specifically. So we have fear, we actually attract these kinds of bugs. So this is where we can see what's going on from the biography of what's happening in the mind, biologically in the body, specifically in her digestive tract, which is, again, reminder, 80% of your immune system. So she's got lots of fungus going on in here, and you can't just do a candida cleanse. You can't just go on a candida, detox to get rid of this. You have to ask the question of what's causing this. And usually it's two things, toxins like heavy metals and trauma like fear. And so now she's done a lot of work to reverse and repair some of the things in her gut by also sitting with her trauma and understanding it. She had parasites that were going on, and this is the most important thing I want you guys to see here. This figure here shows that she's not circulating, detoxing properly. A lot of these toxins are getting just circulating throughout her body instead of leaving the body. When you see this number high, she's not detoxing properly. These are not things you're going to see in a standard blood test. These are things we can see here. So once we're able to free this up, she lost 20 pounds pretty quickly. And secretory IgA, now she's in the bikini, so you'll hear that in the podcast. Secretory IgA, this right here is what I continuously see as low on these lab tests. And what secretory IgA is a gold standard for your immune system. If that's low, then you have a small amount of gut bugs in your mucosa that can defend and ward off toxins, pathogens, and the waste that pathogens leave in the gut. This number is extremely low for her. She is extremely immunocompromised, but was never diagnosed as somebody who is immunocompromised. But here's what I'll share with you. What made her immunocompromised was the toxin of fear. And that was her biggest block. So you saw it earlier. She was in a state of PTSD. She was in a state of fight or flight. She had hormonal problems, digestive issues. She was hypothyroid. And her body was making more and more and more thyroid hormone because her body was not able to get the thyroid into the cell because she had toxins blocking it. And your cells can only absorb when you are in a state of rest and digest and chilling out. You have to be in a receiving state, not in a defended posture. In fight or flight, running from something, you have to be in a state of relaxation and calm and able to receive love, nutrients, hormones, as above, so below. So if you're defended posture and your ego is in fight or flight, freeze or facade, it's pushing things away, your cells underneath are doing the same thing. So for her to be able to breathe these things into her cells and to receive thyroid hormone, to receive the nutrients, to receive the love, that she's worth it and she's worth healing, she had to free herself from the trauma that she was not worth being loved the way that she deserved to be loved. And she should let go of that toxic relationship. She was able to get through the toxic relationship and embrace the meaning that it had for her in her life, that it was there to help her wake up so that she can rise up and speak up. Thyroid problems are not just a thyroid hormone issue. They're also something is blocked here and you're not communicating. You're not speaking your voice. You're not speaking your truth. You're not speaking up for yourself. You're not drawing your boundaries. You are not protecting that little girl inside of you or that little boy inside of you that needs to be defended and that needs to feel safe. This is all an illusion. What's happening inside of here is the only thing that you can control. What's going on out here is nothing compared to what's going on inside of here. So you can take your control back, and it is by releasing the toxins, but by first addressing the trauma that is holding them inside of your body in specific types, in specific places. These things all kind of happen in unison with one another, and it's not just about supplements. You can't buy your immune system in a bottle. You can't swallow your pills to create an immune system. The biggest thing to consider is what's blocking us, and how did we all get here as a species? So the artificial inoculation out there for your immune system is that other people out there protecting you, but they're also harming you by inserting things that are very toxic into your body. So it's time that you protect yourself and that you learn why you're feeling so fat and so fatigued and so frustrated. I lost 15 pounds of inflammation when I removed my breast implants and detox. I didn't even know that I had that much toxicity stored in fat cells, but this is how it works. We go through shadows, we face our fears in order to get to the light. So everything that you're experiencing, all the suffering, all the symptoms, all the sickness, was all necessary to wake you up, because that's all that they're about. Your symptoms are your body's biography, waking you up symptomatically to help you realize that there's something not going on right in here, and it keeps you stuck and it keeps the toxicity trapped. So when you have proper chiropractic adjustments and everything's in alignment physically, when you are able to work with people who are doing like Rolfing or massage techniques or releasing kind of knots in your body, then those things are allowed to feel release, and you don't have trauma stuck there too. And you're able to start removing some of these toxins when you address the trauma and you free the fear and you feel it first, understanding that now you have the tools to protect you. But when the trauma happened to you, you didn't. and you're learning a new way to self-parent and self-love and self-care in ways that you never did. And so this, my friends, is how you boost your immune system, by discovering the things that block it. And it's not easy to do this alone, so make sure that you ask for help. I'm here if you need me to talk to. Just go to dianekaiser.com/call and we can chat. If it's something you can do on your own, I'll tell you. If it's just something that it needs some work, we can do a deep dive and do some of this testing on our own to see what's really going on underneath the surface. This is how we boost our immune system, by looking at all the key factors: your mental, emotional, spiritual, your physical, and your chemical. So I'm Diane Kaiser. Oh, and your social, because it's also important to question what's going on around you, your environment, the job that you have, the people that you keep around you socially. I'm Diane Kaiser. I really hope this helped. If it did, please be sure to subscribe, give me a little like, share this with people so that they really understand that vitamin C is not just the only path through our immune system, although it sure does help. Those are part of the things, but really it's understanding the trauma and the toxins that are interfering with our body's ability to properly digest fear and the food that we're consuming, so that we can stand up and cleanse our body, heal our hormones and our gut, and ignite our life, because you're worth it, aren't you? Thanks, Dr. Patricia, for allowing us to share these stories and these labs with everybody, so that your journey can be a beacon of light of hope for other people to learn how they too can cleanse, heal, ignite. I look forward to hearing you guys in the comments below. Let me know some questions that you might have, or some ways that you help yourself to calm your central nervous system down, so that you're out of the state of fear and you're able to be here completely and free that from your body, so it doesn't have a home to live in anymore, realizing that it's all necessary. I will see you in the next video.